Well, hi everyone. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. I make it 7 o'clock, so I'm going to make a start. So I'm just going to do a few little fiddly bits here. And I'm just going to put everyone on mute if that's okay. I'm getting a little bit of background noise, so I'm just going to put the audio on mute for the time being. So you'll be able to hear me, but hopefully none of the background noise. So hopefully you can hear me and hopefully you can see me. If you could just do me a really big favour, and could someone just type into the chat box for me that you can see me and can hear me okay? I don't want to be talking to myself for an hour. Not good fun. So if one of you could just type into the chat box that you can hear me and you can see me, I can see and hear. Thank you, Lucy. Hi, Tracy. Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. Excellent. Okay. So what I'm going to do, as I say, I'm going to keep everyone else on mute. And it's not because I don't want to hear you. It's because I do get a lot of background noise if there's any microphones on. So if you notice that your little microphone symbol on the right-hand side of the screen is not orange, it's green, then if you could perhaps turn it off for me. But I will keep an eye on it, and if I do hear any background noise, I will mute all the microphones. But it's not because I don't want to hear from anyone. I absolutely do. It's going to be very interactive tonight, so what I need you to do is to take part if you can. If you've got anything to ask me at all, please type into the chat box. Hopefully, Ellie, you might be, if you can't hear me, Ellie, the bit, I don't know why I'm saying this because it's a bit silly really, because if you can't hear me, you're not going to hear what I'm saying. But I'm hoping the sound problems for Ellie will sort themselves out in a second. But I know everyone else can hear me, so I will continue. So yeah, my name is Jason Blackman. I'm an FMAAT and I'm from near Brighton on the south coast. I've had a practice since 2001 and yeah, never looked back since I started in practice, which is what hopefully everyone else will be saying soon, or maybe might be saying already. Best thing I ever did. And what I like to do now is sort of share the knowledge that I've gleaned over the past quite a few years, 15 years, 16 years now. I sound really old when I say that, but anyway. So yeah, lots of things have changed since I started in 2001, as you can probably guess. And hopefully a lot of those things I can start sharing with you tonight. So I will be looking away from the camera quite often because I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat box because, as I say, this is extremely interactive. That's what I want it to be. I want you to ask any questions as we go along, whether it's in regard to the subjects that I'm talking about or anything else in particular. If I can answer it now, I will. If I can't answer it, then I will come back to you. What I'll do is I will save a copy of the chat log, just like I always do on these sessions. And if I haven't answered anything, then I will come back to you later. But yeah, please feel free to type anything at any time. As I say, this is very informal tonight. I've got some things to talk about, but it's no problem if we go off topic at all or if there's questions to answer as we go on. So I've as you know, when we set this session up, I put a post on Facebook just to say if there's any subjects you want to talk about, if there's any topics that you'd like to hear more about, then please let me know. And you very kindly did. So pricing seems to be a really, really big topic at the moment. I think it is in general. It's a really hot topic for accountants, mainly because it's so difficult. It's such a difficult subject to get right. You know, pricing for us accountants is very, very, very difficult. So I'm going to talk a lot about that tonight, a lot about pricing and sort of different things we can do to make our prices better and to make our work more valuable. I'm also going to talk about marketing as well, quite a bit about websites and Facebook and that sort of thing. And I'm going to talk about my favourite subject, which is cloud. I'm going to talk a lot about cloud as well, and how you can help how the cloud can help your practice and how you should price for that. So that should keep us going, really. As I say, I'm here till 8 o'clock. I shall be talking for as long as my voice will allow, which will probably be about 45 to 50 minutes before my throat goes completely dry. But I have got my water here, so emergency supply of that. But I'll probably be talking for about 40 to 50 minutes, and I will be here until 8 o'clock. So if anyone's got any questions after I've finished and I've turned the webcam and the microphone off, I will still be here to answer any questions that you might have. So I guess I'm just going to press mute all again. We've got a couple of microphones making noises, so I'm going to put mute all again. So the first thing I'm going to talk about tonight is marketing. Now, again, marketing is a very difficult area for accountants traditionally. it's a pretty hot topic, maybe not as hot as pricing, but it certainly is a very relevant topic for us accountants. How do we market ourselves? How do we get clients, basically? How do we make sure we're doing the right thing? It's a question that I often get asked, and it's a subject really that I've spent a lot of time researching. And I've got a lot of accountants as friends, and I see what they do, and I learn from them as well. So hopefully I can share a bit of that with you right now. So the first thing I want to talk about, I guess, is having a website. Now, that is very, very important. And gone are the days when I started in practice all those years ago in 2001. Although I did have a website, it was really, really basic. And I don't think I minded too much at the time that it was basic, because a lot of the clients that I got in 2001 when I first started were from word of mouth. I got the first few clients. I was very, very lucky, and I had a friend who was a chartered accountant. And when I first started out, he was very kind and he gave me a lot of work. But as I got more clients from him, then sort of word did start to spread, and I got quite a few clients from word of mouth, a lot from referrals. But as I say, I did have a website, but it wasn't all that really. But as I say, in those days, it didn't really matter. But I think now, in the days of popular search engines, I think it really matters, a really big deal. And I think it not only matters to have a good website, but I think it also matters to sort of rank high in the search engines and to make sure that you're found. I think that's obviously just as important. You could have the best website in the world, but if no one can find you, then it's kind of defeating the object, really. So of course you can do it yourself, and that's a question that's been asked to me as well. Should I design my own website? Yes, of course you can do that. But for me personally, I would always recommend getting some help when it comes to getting your site out there, getting it high on search engines, and getting the right keywords and that sort of thing. It's not a topic that I'm good at all, and I'm guessing that we aren't either, really. You know, we're accountants, we're bookkeepers, and we're, web stuff is not our expertise. So I always think it does pay to get someone else involved in doing that. Now, I was very lucky in the fact that I've got a client that's a website designer, so that was really, really handy. That was a bit of a power cut then, which was a little bit scary. But I shall press on. So I've got a client that's a website designer, and she's been brilliant. She's designed my website for me, and I do her account. But although she's done a brilliant website for me, and I really do like it, the strength in it is in the search engines. The sort of getting me high on Google and pages like that. That's the real strength. And I think we need to invest some time, and certainly maybe invest some money in getting that right. Because, as I say, it's great to have a website. We all need a website. It has to be done. But people need to find us. That is the key. So if you need to spend a bit of money getting that sorted out, getting it done properly, then it really is worth it. And I'm not talking about thousands and thousands of pounds. It doesn't cost that to do it. You can get it done fairly cheaply. But I do think it's worth getting it done. But as far as content on the website, what sort of content should we have on the website? Now, again, I see a lot of websites, a lot of accountants' websites, and a lot of them are very samey, and they're saying the same sort of thing. And I don't like using the word stuffy to describe accountants, but unfortunately, a lot of accountants' websites are stuffy, and they're full of information about what they do, accounts, tax returns, bookkeeping, payroll, VAT, etc., etc., etc. Just describing what you do is not enough, unfortunately. You want something that's going to grab your prospect's attention. Above all, you want to be different from other accountants. And if you're just listing your services on your website, what you do, it's not really going to blow them away. I know of one accountant who lists in great, great detail about what they do, and after sort of 5 minutes of reading it, you're almost falling asleep, and it doesn't grab the prospect. You want to talk to the prospect in a language that they understand. They don't understand accounting jargon. It's not what they want. So your website should not be full of accounting jargon. It should be easy to understand in plain English, and it should grab people. You should be talking about the things that your prospect wants to hear, what you can do for them. It's obvious you can do accounts and tax returns, compliance, VAT, payroll, but it's describing in better detail the value you can bring to them. That's really what you need to do. So I can't go into all the detail now about what you need to say on your website, but I think suffice to say that it's not enough just to have a list of services. You need to grab the prospect, you need to grab their attention, you need to sound human, you need to sound friendly, you need to sound enthusiastic, you need to sound passionate about what you do. You know, I started in 2001 and I'm still passionate about accounts now. I really, really am. I get very excited about what the day's going to bring, and I really think we should feel that way about our businesses, and I really think we should convey that in any marketing material that we provide for prospects, and websites obviously included in that. So I guess that's what it's all about, really. It's just being a little bit different, not relying too much describing what you do. There's no need for that at all. It's obvious what we do. We're accountants. We all do pretty much the same thing. But it's what additional services we can do. It's what additional value we can bring to the client. I think that's the important thing. So as well as a website, I do believe that Facebook is a really, really great way to promote your business. Now, Facebook is, I'm trying to think of the right word, really. I guess it's a bit more relaxed than normal. You know, some people think, is Facebook the right place to advertise a professional business? And I really do think it is. An increasing number of businesses are on Facebook now, and I think accountancy practices are no exception. There's no reason why we can't be on Facebook. I've had a Facebook page now for quite a few years, and I must admit I've got a lot of business from my Facebook page. I think it's important to have it set up completely as a separate business page. I don't think you should sort of try and amalgamate it with your personal page. You know, your personal page is not what prospects and what clients want to see. You should keep your personal life and your business page very, very much separate on Facebook. But having said that, again, there's no need for it to be stuffy. It can be very relaxed, very friendly, but it does need to be separate. You need to have a separate business page. So what sort of thing do you put on there? Well, again, it's just like a website. You don't want too much about describing accounts or describing bookkeeping, describing in great detail what you do. It's all about being friendly, maybe being fun, not using jargon, just describing in a fun way what you can do for the client. And I think one of the sort of most, the most profitable things you can do as far as Facebook goes is be regular with Facebook. If you're going to start posting on Facebook, then you need to do it regularly. Now, the best way to do that, the way I've done it, is I've joined a number of groups in my area. So I say I'm near Brighton, so I've joined lots of groups around Brighton, on the south coast, Sussex, Hampshire, etc., etc., etc. You know, these sort of small business groups on Facebook are fairly easy to find. Sometimes they take a bit of digging, you know, to find them, but it's quite possible you can quite easily build up a little library of groups that you're members of. And once you've got a certain number of groups, I think I've got about 25 to 30, and I think that's probably about right. I don't really think I have time to sort of post in many more than that. But having said that, you don't want to just 2 or 3. I think you want a decent number to be able to post in. But I think the key with Facebook marketing is consistency. You need to make sure you're posting on a regular basis, whether that's weekly or fortnightly or even monthly, but just be consistent. And what sort of material should you post? Well, what I've found successful is to give clients things, to give prospects things. Now, there's so much free information that you can get now. Now, the things that I'm thinking about are, there's a cloud software company called Free Agent, and they're always giving away freebies on their Facebook page. Xero do the same, and I think ClearBooks do the same. You know, Accounting Web, all these different Facebook pages. If you can join them and sort of pull off a few of the freebies that they give, and then you can re-give those freebies on your page. So, for example, Free Agent a little while ago had a fantastic guide on. I think I posted it in the ASN Facebook group. Actually, it was all about what expenses you can claim as a sole trader, and it's a really, really useful guide. Really useful guide. And so I sort of took it from Free Agent, and I put it on my business Facebook page, or I put it on my business Facebook posting. And the day that I did that, I think I did it on a Saturday, and just sort of giving that away created a mass amount of interest. I think what I did, I'm trying to remember because it was a really long time ago now, but I think what I did was I said in the Facebook post that I had this guide, and if anyone would like a copy of it, just drop me a comment below with your email address. And so I got a lot of replies to that post. And so I had almost like a list of prospects who I could then market to. I think I had about 20 to 30 responses just that day. So that's the sort of thing you need to think about. What sort of free information can you give away? What freebies can you give away? What valuable information can you give to a prospect? Without giving too much away, obviously you don't want to go in the other direction. You don't want to give so much away that you've got nothing to give when you finally meet the prospect. Okay, Ellie, I've got a message from Ellie, no problem at all. Yes, I will. If you actually want me to email it out to you, that guy that I'm just talking about, pop your email address into the chat box and I will do that. I think I have posted it on the group a little while ago, but I'm more than happy to email it out. So if you want to pop your email address into the chat box, I will email you a copy of it. So as I say, you don't want to go too much the other way. You don't want to give away too much information. But I think sort of teasing clients, giving them a little bit of a freebie, a little bit of information, it pulls them in. It's not stuffy. It's fun, and it's something quite easy to do. And the best thing about it is it doesn't cost too much money. That's the key. Facebook marketing is basically free. All you need to do is sort of consistently post on there, find some valuable information that you can give out, and it should start to work for you. That's what I've done, and Facebook has worked really, really well for me. Funnily enough, I've just had another prospect today regarding on one of my Facebook posts. So it really does work. Facebook really, really does work. And what I'll probably end up doing one day maybe is a little demonstration of exactly how to market on Facebook, if that would be of interest. So I'll maybe sort of touch on that a bit more one day, but it's just one area of marketing that's been really, really successful for me. Say website's been great as well, having the right website, but Facebook page is, it really does suit business. And I think if you're on Facebook as a business, as an accountancy practice, you don't come across too stuffy. I think you come across a bit more relaxed, and I think that's what clients want. So I'm just having a look at the chat box. Lots of email addresses there, so that's fine. Now Ren says, I've noticed a Facebook post with pictures get more views than just words. Would you agree? That's a very good point, Ren, and I think, yes, I would agree. Again, I've put a few posts containing screenshots. So if I've been trying to promote cloud accounting, if I've been trying to promote Xero, for example, then I'll use a screenshot of Xero in that Facebook post. And you're right, Ren, it does grab the attention straight away. And it was another one that worked for me. I think I put a sort of a demo picture of the business dashboard from Xero onto a Facebook post, and basically said to people, if you had your bookkeeping done in Xero, this is how good your bookkeeping could look, how good your figures could look, how organized you could look. And that was quite a successful post as well. So yeah, I totally agree. Having pictures on there is great. I think if it's just lines of text, maybe sometimes people just do tend to sort of scroll past that. I think the more interesting you can make it, I think that's the key. The more interesting you can make these posts, the more sort of human sounding you can make yourself as an accountant. It's just a sad fact that accountants do get a bad rap, and you need to make yourself as human and as friendly and as jargon free as possible. So, that's nearly 20 minutes on marketing. So I'm going to talk about pricing now for a while. Pricing is a massive subject. I could sit here for hours and talk about pricing. It's a really big area, especially for accountants. How do we price? Do we price hourly? Do we price fixed pricing? Do we use value pricing? So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those options now. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is hourly billing. Now, I absolutely hate hourly billing. Although when I started in 2001, it was all I did. I had a hourly rate for myself, which is another subject entirely. How do you work out an hourly rate for yourself? And any bookkeeping work that I did, I would do the bookkeeping for the client and then send the bill in depending on how many hours I've done. I think nowadays hourly billing is not recommended for use at all. I think with the advent of cloud accounting, which again I'm going to talk about a bit more later on, it's making our job easier. But although I say it's making it easier, that doesn't mean it's any less valuable. In fact, I think with some of the fantastic stuff you can do with cloud accounting, I think it's making it more valuable. But I don't see why that means we should charge a lower amount. And Karen's come onto webcam as well. Fantastic. Hello, Karen. Did you mean to switch your webcam on, Karen? I can't hear you at the moment. Obviously not. She's come to see me, but now she's gone again. So yeah, so hourly billing I don't recommend at all. I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair in lots of ways. I think it's unfair on you because hourly billing limits you as to what you can earn. So what do I mean by that? So if you're billing hourly, then there's obviously only a finite number of hours in the day or in the week that you can bill. So once you've billed those hours, then you can't really bill anymore. You're limiting yourself to what you can bill, and I really think that's unfair. I also think it's unfair on the client. Now, historically, hourly billing is always happens after the event. So if you're billing for bookkeeping, for example, you're not really sure at the beginning how long your particular job's going to take. So you say to the client, I will bill you X number of hours at whatever it might be, 10, 15, 20, 25 pounds an hour. Client says, okay. And you know the client is expecting a certain number of hours, or you may say to the client, this will take me approximately 8 hours, if you have a guess. And if you then find out it takes you 11 hours and you bill the client 11 hours, the client straight away is going to be upset because the client's thinking 8 hours and that's what they're expecting the bill for. Receive the bill for 11, straight away they're going to be upset. So that's often called ambush billing or surprise billing, and it is one thing that clients really don't like about accountants. I know they don't like it about other professions that bill hourly, solicitors for example, but we can't control that. We can control what we do, and I think it's unfair sending the client surprise bills. Far better for the client to know what you're going to bill in advance so that they don't get a surprise. By definition, if they get a surprise, their back is always going to be up straight away, and that's the last thing you want. So that's kind of two reasons why I think hourly billing doesn't work. And another one is, as I just said, with the advent of cloud accounting, our jobs are becoming easier. If you're using software like, let's say, for example, Xero and Receipt Bank, which I have talked about before, if you're using those two pieces of software together, they are truly, truly powerful, and they save us a huge amount of time. But in my opinion, they're bringing the client more and more value, and they're making us far more efficient. But should that mean that we bill the client less hours? It doesn't seem fair. It really doesn't seem fair on us. Just because there's less, the workload is less for us, it doesn't mean we should bill the client any less money. So hopefully that's justified why I don't think hourly billing works. Now, let me just have a little look on the chat box. We're getting a few things in now. So Pam says, if someone asks you for advice, would you bill him straight away or the initial advice free? That is a very good question, Pam. And in the old days, I've fallen into a bit of a trap of giving away too much for free. I remember going to see a prospect once and I gave him so much advice. In the end, he decided not to take me on because I told him everything that he wanted to know. So I've fallen into that trap, I'm sure, as we all have. You have to be very careful about what you give away for free. Now, when you see a prospect, of course, that meeting should be free. And that's a little side issue, actually. I've heard of a lot of accountants that charge for the initial meeting. And again, that seems pretty harsh to me. I would never do that. I think it's very important to have a free initial meeting with a prospect to sort of get to know them a bit. But as far as giving away information, yes, you do have to be careful. Try not to give away too much what I call technical information for free. Spend the time talking to them, spend the time listening to them. I think that's the key. We need to listen to our prospects more. Spend the time listening to what they're telling you. Ask them questions about their business. No one is happier than when they're talking about their own business. So spend the time asking the prospect in great detail what they do, what they love about what they do, what their problems are, what sort of solutions they want, from us. I've learned a lot in the past few years that we really need to listen a lot more. And I think with our prospect meetings, we should spend a lot more time listening than giving out information. But yeah, it's a very, very good question, Pam, and we really need to be careful about what we give out. Try not to give out too much technical knowledge at the meeting, because at the end of the day, that's what they're going to pay us for. Which cloud accounting software would I recommend? I'll move that question, Pam, to a little bit towards the end, because I'm going to talk about cloud a little bit more a little bit later on in the session, if I may. So I've talked about hourly billing and why I don't like it. So now I'm going to talk about fixed pricing. Now, fixed pricing is a much better option than hourly billing because it literally is that, it's fixed. So you quote the client a fixed amount and that's what they pay. So let's say you're doing a bookkeeping job for the client and you quote them £200, then they will pay £200. whether it's quicker, whether it takes you less time than you think, or whether it takes you more time than you think, they still pay £200. So the client's happy. They're not going to get a surprise bill, so their backs aren't going to be up. You know what you're going to earn, so you can prepare for your cash flow and they can prepare for their cash flow. So fixed pricing is a good option. But I think another thing we need to think about when we're giving fixed pricing is giving the client options. Now, that's something that I have done in the past few years, giving clients 3 options. They talk about, the pricing gurus that I know talk about the power of 3. Psychologically, the client being presented with 3 options seems to work. So you don't necessarily have to use the terms bronze, silver, and gold, but I always use that as a sort of base point. Your bronze offering, your silver offering, and your gold offering. So what you have in those packages is entirely up to you. Obviously, bronze being the smaller package, gold being the higher package. But invariably, the client will always choose the middle option. Now, as I say, it's been proven time and time again that if you offer 3 options, the client will most of the time choose the middle one. So in this case, they would choose the silver option. But as I say, what you have in those packages is entirely your choice. But I've certainly found in the past with fixed pricing, having 3 options always works best. I think having 1 option, the client almost feels like you're forcing them to go down that road. This is what we do, this is what you'll pay. And I think with 3 options, the client feels a little bit more in control, so that's why they prefer it. And of course, it can help you as well. If you're only going to give the bronze service to the client, do the most sort of bog standard basic work, then that's what you'll get paid for. If you're adding a bit more value with your silver and gold services, then you'll obviously be paid a bit more for that. And another option of pricing is what's called value pricing. Now, value pricing is very tricky to master, and I'm not saying that I've mastered it completely because it's very, very difficult. But if you can use value pricing, the rewards can be incredible. Now, I'll give you an example of probably the best value pricing result that I had with a client quite a few years ago now. It was for a piece of tax planning work. And it was a client that was making a lot of money. I think they were making about 750k profit, and they wanted to know how they could reduce their tax bill. So we managed to find them a tax scheme. Now, tax schemes are a bit of a grey area, but I'm not going to go into the morals of tax schemes right now. All I want to say is that I used a tax scheme for this client at that time, which was several years ago. Now, I said to the client, whatever tax I can save you, I will charge you 25% of that saving. Now, that way, the client really couldn't lose. Whatever tax I saved him, he would pay me a quarter of that. So it wasn't like I was charging the client for doing it. I wasn't going to sort of say, I'm going to spend X number of hours on this at an X rate, and that's what you'll pay me. I was saying, whatever you receive, I will take a quarter of in the nicest possible way. So if I'd saved him £100 tax, he'd pay me 25. If I saved him £1,000 tax, he'd pay me £250. Now, we did the tax planning for him with the tax specialist, and I personally didn't do a huge amount of the work. It was a tax specialist that did the work, but we ended up managing to save the client around about 40k in tax. So as you can probably guess, a quarter of that was 10k. So my fee ended up as £10,000. And that was, for me, it was probably about 3 or 4 days work, I guess. So you can imagine if I charged the client on an hourly rate for 3 or 4 days, it wouldn't have been anywhere near, probably wouldn't have even been near £1,000. But using value pricing and saying that that I would charge him a percentage of the tax save worked really well for him because he wasn't out of pocket. He could never be out of pocket. And it worked really well for me because I got a massive fee for doing very little work. So, value pricing is difficult to do, and you can't always use an example like that, but it's certainly something to think about. And another little example I know of is a fellow accountant, a friend of mine, and what she does, which I think is a great idea, whenever she takes on a new client, the first thing she says to them is, I will check your last year's accounts prepared by your last accountant. And if I find any errors or omissions or any tax savings there, I will put them right for you and I'll charge you, I don't know what the percentage is, but let's say it's 25%. If I don't find anything, I won't charge you anything. So the client cannot lose, cannot possibly lose. But for the accountant, it's a win-win. Whatever they find, whatever tax saving they make, it's they receive a fee of the whatever percentage of that might be. In this case, I think it's 25. So I know she was telling me about one client she took on, and she'd found a huge error by the previous accountant, and I think she'd found about £10,000 worth of tax that they could have saved. So she did this exercise for them, and she made £2,500 from it. And it was literally for, this is for work that a previous accountant had done. Who would think of doing something like that? But it worked for her. The client was absolutely over the moon. He hadn't really had to pay anything because it was paid purely from the tax savings that this accountant had found. So before she'd even started to prepare accounts from her workings, just by finding an error from the previous accountant, she was making money. And I think it's a brilliant idea. And I think it's another really, really good example of value pricing and how it can really, really work. But as I say, it does take skill. It does take determination to use value pricing. But it can really work. So I've been talking about hourly rates, fixed pricing and value pricing. Hourly rates, I would say, don't ever use. Fixed pricing is great. You know what you're getting. The client knows what they're getting. Value pricing is even better. But as I say, pricing is an absolutely huge topic, and it's maybe one that warrants a webinar all of its own, really. But hopefully that's given you a few tips. But there's still a few more little tips about pricing. Now, one thing I've learned over the last few years, I've learned this from a guy called Mark Wickersham. I'm not sure if any of you have ever heard of him, but he's a chartered accountant. He was in practice many, many years ago. He ultimately sold his practice, and he now helps accountants with pricing. And Mark's been looking after me, sort of mentoring me for several years now. And a lot of the pricing ideas that I talked to you about have been gleaned from him. So I'm just going to look at my chat box for one more second. Lucy says, how do you know how much to charge? As when you start, you won't know how long things will take. That's a very good point. It's a very good point, Lucy. And this is where, you can only learn from experience. It's very difficult to tell when you first take on a new client how long something will take. But experience will help. You will get to know how long things take. And even if you have an hourly rate in your head, don't charge the client the hourly rate, but even if you have an hourly rate in your head, what you would be charging them, so whatever that might be, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 50, 100, whatever, if you've got an hourly rate in your head and you can think to yourself, well, how long will that take me? Don't say to the client how long, or say to the prospect how long you think it will take you or how much your hourly rate is, but have a sort of mental note of it. So using a silly example, if you're charging out £10 an hour and you think it'll take you 8 hours, you think it'll be £80. So say to the client, okay, this job's going to be £80. If you end up doing it quicker, then you've made money. If it ends up taking you longer, then you've got to suffer that. But the client's happy because it's a fixed price. So how do you know how much to charge? It's very, very difficult, but you will learn it from experience. But although I've just said don't ever use hourly pricing, and I mean that, I don't want you to charge the client an hourly figure, but if you want to have an hourly figure in your head and base your work around that figure, then it's a good starting point. That's all I would say. So hopefully that's helped. So I was just talking about Mark Wickersham and some of the ideas that he's given me, and one of the ideas that he often talks about, and it sounds really silly, but it really does work, and it's called the power of 9. Now, his idea, and again, he didn't make this up, this is sort of research this has been done across the years, that prices ending in 9 really do work and really are attractive to the client. Now, I suppose an example of that, if you go into your local Currys and see a brand new TV there, quite often, rather than say £2,000, it will be £1,999. I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's the power of 9. Currys are using the power of 9. Quite often you'll see something that's £4.99 instead of £5. It's only a penny difference, but psychologically it makes a huge amount of difference. I know it sounds silly, but £19.99 looks cheaper than £2,000. Psychologically it looks a lot cheaper. So the power of 9 really does work. So A lot of accountants I know that are learning from Mark, their packages will be sort of £79 a month as opposed to 80, or £99 a month as opposed to 100. It's only a pound's worth of difference, but psychologically it really does work. The price looks a lot cheaper than if you're ending it with a zero. It sounds really silly, but it really does work. So I'm just going to talk about, we've got 25 minutes left. So I'm going to talk now a little bit about my favourite subject, which is the cloud. And I know that a lot of people are very interested in it, and I'm not sure how many in the group are sort of moving on to the cloud, or if you're thinking about it. But I cannot recommend the cloud highly enough. I think it's something that we as bookkeepers and accountants should all be aiming towards, particularly because Making Tax Digital is going to come into effect very soon now. Still haven't heard the final details from HMRC, but as far as we know, it's only just over a year away now. So I'm not sure how much you guys know about Making Tax Digital, but in a nutshell, it's going to involve reporting our clients' figures to HMRC online on a quarterly basis. So this is going to make the move to cloud bookkeeping really going to be essential. Desktop software is not going to be able to cut it anymore. You need to be using cloud software because we need to be prepared for when Making Tax Digital comes in. And if we start to make the move now or in the next few months, then we are going to be so prepared for when it comes in next April. Now, as far as what package is concerned, now I've saw that on the Facebook group, what sort of cloud package should we use? It's entirely up to you. There are so many around at the moment. But I think the beauty of the ones that are around at the moment is all the major packages offer you a free trial. So I certainly know Xero, Free Agent, and QuickBooks offer a 30-day free trial. So it really is worth, even if you want to play around with all three of them and see what you think, see how you get on with them. It's not just those three, there's quite a few others as well. But if you're thinking about starting on cloud accounting, which you really should be, then take out a 30-day trial with one of the major software companies. Now, my software of choice is Xero. I've used Xero for many years now. I think it's the best personally, but that's just my opinion. Lots of people use QuickBooks Online. Lots of people swear by that. And Free Agent is very popular as well. Free Agent is more popular when clients are doing their own bookkeeping, because Free Agent is very, I don't mean basic in a derogatory term, but it's very easy to use, and I think sort of clients prefer that. Xero's a little bit more technical, so a lot of clients don't like using Xero, but I think we as accountants, don't mind it being a bit more technical because we're technical. And I think Xero is the most powerful package out of the three, certainly. But as I say, that's just my opinion. But I have been using it for quite a while now. And I've been using a lot of what about Sage? Oh dear. I don't want to be nasty about Sage, but I don't like Sage. I never liked Sage Desktop. I find it horrible to use. I know it's in the AAT syllabus. I'm not sure if it still is. Obviously, it was a long time ago that I did the AAT syllabus, but I'm guessing that Sage Desktop is still in there. Or maybe Sage 1 is. Sage 1 is Sage's cloud version. It is, Hannah says it is, unfortunately. I detest Sage Desktop. I think it's awful. I don't think we should be using it to further ourselves in accounting. I think we need to be using cloud software packages. I mean, using Sage Desktop in the syllabus is great to get a grasp of how accounting packages work and to get a grasp of how accounting packages treat the numbers, how they treat debits and credits. It's great for that sort of thing, but moving forward into the future, Sage Desktop is really not an option. We need to be using cloud software. And even if that's Sage 1, you could be using that, but Sage 1, in my opinion, doesn't compare to the three that I spoke about just now. Another thing that I like about Xero is the sheer amount of add-ons that you can get. One of which is Receipt Bank. I don't know if any of you guys were here for the Receipt Bank webinar that I did a few weeks ago. Receipt Bank is an incredibly powerful piece of receipt processing software where you let the client install the app on their smartphone, and all the client needs to do when they're preparing their paperwork for you is take a picture, literally, of their invoices and receipts using their smartphone. And that is all they need to do. As soon as they've done that, all that documentation is fed through to the Receipt Bank dashboard, which we control, and ultimately that feeds through automatically into Xero. If we're using Xero, it can also feed through into Free Agent or QuickBooks. But these are the sort of things that I really think we should be using for our clients. Now, funnily enough, another quick little tale. I saw a client today, a prospect. He wants me to do his bookkeeping for him. Quite a big electrical company, turning over about £14,000 a month. And historically, he's gathered all his paperwork up every month and given it to his bookkeeper. He said he hates doing it. I told him about Receipt Bank. I said, look, all you need to do is take a picture of all your invoices, all your receipts, or your cash receipts, or your credit card receipts, and that's all you need to do. Literally, you can then throw them away. And I know people are going to say, oh my God, I don't want to throw paperwork away. But Receipt Bank stores your scanned copy in its own software, and when you transfer it to another package like Xero, Xero will store a scanned copy of that as well. So you have got 2 backup copies there. So you really don't need to be keeping the paperwork anymore. Once you're happy, as I say, I know it's a massive, massive thing to say you should throw paperwork away, but if we're getting to this stage of the paperless office, then these are the sort of things we need to be doing. But anyway, to cut a long story short, the prospect said, that sounds so easy. Oh my God, I can't believe how easy that is. I would love to be able to do that. And we want to make clients' lives easier. That's what we're doing. The easier we can make clients' lives, the better it is for us. And just quickly going back to what I said earlier, imagine how easy that's making our job. You know, Receipt Bank and Xero, it's automating so much for us. But what we're providing clients is still a hugely valuable service. Now, Pam says, how secure is cloud software? Again, this is a massive, massive debate as security. I can't really go into it now, but my argument is how secure is desktop software. You know, I've in the practice I used to work for before I became self-employed, so in about 99, 2000, the practice I worked for had a hardware failure. The hard drive collapsed. The boss hadn't done a backup for several weeks, so we lost a huge amount of data. I've heard about people's laptops being stolen from offices, from cars. You know, how secure are these things? You know, how safe is your desktop computer? Probably not as safe as it is in the cloud. The cloud is, you know, I'm talking about Xero now. It's backed up so many times on so many secure servers that I personally, and again, this is my personal opinion, I think data stored in the cloud is safer than having data stored on your desktop computer or on your laptop. I really, truly believe that. We could have the security argument for ages, but in my opinion, the cloud is 100% secure. And I don't really see that, you know, our data is going to be a target for hackers, to be honest. I don't really think that a hacker's going to be interested in a electrician's profit and loss report, to be perfectly honest. So, you know, to me, and the things I've seen in my experience, the sort of data I've seen lost, I've seen items stolen, you know, I start to say to myself, how safe and secure are desktops? So let me just have another look at the chat box for 1 second. It's nearly 7:45, so we're getting there. So Pam says Xero have just moved their servers over to Amazon, so if you're happy to shop at Amazon, you should be okay with Xero. And this is the thing, Pam, you're quite right. I know security is a big issue with the cloud. Of course it is. It's a massive issue. But I wonder how many people that are questioning the security of cloud accounting use online banking. You know, I think there must be nearly 100% of us that use online banking, and this is our own money in the cloud. You know, if we trust our own money in the cloud with online banking, why shouldn't we trust our bookkeeping data? This is my argument. You know, there was a guy on Facebook who argued with me a little while ago. Not argued with me, we were having a friendly discussion. But he said he would never use cloud accounting because it's not secure at all. And bizarrely, he was having this argument with me on Facebook. Now, Facebook is in the cloud. Facebook had all his photos of all his children, etc., etc. And he's there having the argument with me about how unsafe the cloud is, as he's got all his photos of all his family and all his private details on there, which I thought was quite staggering, really. I think we need to look at the fact that we all use the cloud in some way, whether that be Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or online banking. You know, we're all using the cloud. So cloud bookkeeping packages are no different. You know, they're just as secure, if not more secure. You know, a company like Xero can't afford a massive data corruption or a data collapse. You imagine how damaging that's going to be. Their whole business is built based around the cloud. And if there's a problem, then they are going to suffer in a huge way. So that's my opinion. Cloud software, perfectly safe, perfectly secure, and in my opinion, more secure than desktop. If something goes wrong with your desktop or your hard drive, you may have a backup, but with cloud, you've definitely got a backup. And this is what I'm saying about paperwork and receipts. If you've got a scanned copy in Receipt Bank, you've got a scanned copy in Xero, why would you need a paper copy as well? HMRC are perfectly happy to accept electronic records now. So if you're using software like, let's say, Receipt Bank and Xero, and you've got a VAT inspection, all you need to do is sit your VAT inspector down in front of your computer, open a Receipt Bank, open Xero for them. Off they go. They can check all the records and they can check all the paperwork at the same time. It's absolutely brilliant. But because it saves us time, that doesn't mean we can bill less. If anything, we can bill more. So please don't use hourly rates. So it's now 7:45. So I'm going to be here for another quarter of an hour or so. So hopefully I've covered a lot of what we talked about. And what I'm just going to mention in the last couple of minutes is that if you've enjoyed this tonight and you'd like to be a part of doing more things like this, part of more mentoring and more sort of chatting to me, then you're very welcome to join my mentoring group. Now, my mentoring group price uses the power of 9. It's £19.99 a month. Now, the mentoring is going to start live on the 1st of February. So for £19.99 a month, you're going to get a live mentoring session with me every month. We can chat about whatever you want to chat about. It will be completely interactive and it will completely based around what you want. So if you want to talk about pricing every month or marketing or a different subject every month, whatever, it will be based around you. So you'll not only get that, you'll also get completely unlimited email access to me as well. So if there's anything you want to ask me at all, then please feel free. £19.99 a month gets you the live monthly mentoring plus unlimited email access to me as well. So if anyone's interested in joining that with me, what I'm going to do is in the morning, we're going to put this recording onto the Facebook page, onto the ASN page, and I will put a link on there on how to join my mentoring group as well. It'd be great to have you on there. We've got quite a few already, and we're going to start the live sessions in February. So if you'd like to sign up as soon as you can, we can get you onto the live sessions in February. We can all get together and hopefully have some fun and learn a lot along the way as well. So I'll post all about that in the morning on the Facebook group, as well as the recording of this if you want to listen to it again or if there's anything you missed. And it's nearly 7:50 now, so I'm going to sign off now from here. I'm going to turn the webcam off and the microphone off, but I'm still going to be here for the next 10 minutes. So if you do want to ask me any questions about anything I've spoken about at all, or about joining the mentoring, or about any subject at all, please feel free to send me a message and I will try to answer it within the next 10 minutes. But if I don't get to answer you, then I will come back to you at a later date. So hopefully you've enjoyed tonight's session. Hopefully it's been beneficial. My throat's getting a bit dry now, so it's time for a glass of water. You thought I was going to say a glass of wine there, didn't you? No, a glass of water. And I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been really good fun. I've enjoyed it. I hope you've learnt a lot as well. So I'm now going to sign off, turn off the webcam, turn off the microphone, say thank you all very much. Thank you to Natasha for arranging all this for me. Thanks to her brilliant, brilliant group, which I am utterly, utterly privileged to be a part of. It's fantastic. And hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks very much. Bye for now.